All right, Panther fans, as promised, the one, the only, the man himself, Billy, Lindsay, thank you so much for joining me today, man.
Thanks for having me. Everything good?
Yeah, everything is good here in Pantherland. In fact, I'll just ask one of the questions to answer your question, and that is that as Panther fans, I do believe as the fans, this is the first year that we've ever really gone into the beginning of a season saying this has got to be the year we win a cup. Like, can we make the playoffs? Can we even know in the even like the President's Trophy season, we knew we were good, but we didn't know if that level of play would sustain us through the playoffs. This year's been different. And I'm curious to get your opinion on how the players take that in, and like, do they feel the same? Because last year was the big surprising Cinderella run, but now it's a completely different animal. How does that affect the players? How do they see it?
It's kind of building blocks from day one. You have the good run last year. You put the team together. Paul Maurice changes some systems. It starts to click the second half of the season. You go on that magic carpet ride to the Stanley Cup Finals. You come back this year. Bill Zito does a good job going out, getting some extra defensemen. Knew we were going to be down Ekblad Montour at the start of the year. Just a team that believed, though, last year that all of a sudden we're really good. They didn't have to work on the systems. All that was in place. So they kind of hit the ground running. First couple of months of the season were really good. You're in that playoff spot. You're locked in around Thanksgiving. Everything's tracking well. There were some bumps in the road. There's always going to be throughout an 82-game year. But they played to their style. They know who they are. This Panther team knows exactly who they are and what they're about and what it takes to be successful. And a lot of the product that you see on the ice is what happens in behind the scenes in the dressing room. This is a close-knit group. It's like a pack of wolves, all for one for all. You come for one of us, you're coming for all of us. And when you got that kind of bond in the dressing room, it goes a long way. And the great thing about this Panther team, if you look up and down the roster, they got a lot of players that are built to have really good regular seasons. But when it comes postseason, you go across the board, every one of them seems to perform or elevate their game at this time of year. You look at Verhaeghe, he gets better in the playoffs. Bennett, he gets better in the playoffs. Kachuk, he's good in the regular season, but he's even more effective once it becomes a playoff time.
Right.
Barkov has taken it to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
So when you've got this kind of team and got this kind of identity that's got this bond and willingness to sacrifice each other, they know that their style. So they get into these playoffs this year. It's a group that has fun, but when that puck drops and it's business, they know how to get down to work, and that's why you're seeing a lot of this success.
Yeah. So I want to ask you just one question about the regular season, and then we'll talk about the Rangers. This was a point of consternation in circles of the fans. And when the Panthers were having their down times during this regular season, myself and certain other people, we kind of had the feeling that it's like, look, we almost felt like the coaches and players were almost telling us that, look, we're going to make the playoffs. We're kind of saving our bodies and saving our legs. And we kind of felt like they were saving some things for the playoffs. Is that kind of how it goes for the players? And if so, is it like a conscious thing? Do they talk about it and say, hey, look, we're not going to try to kill ourselves for the next 15, 20 games because we know we got, eventually Toronto, Boston, Tampa, etc. What's the difference between the fans' perception and what the players are actually saying and doing?
You're going out there doing your best to win every game. It's just when you go through 82 games and you get on a back-to-back and you're in a city, all of a sudden your legs just aren't there and you've done enough and you're just like,
yeah,
oh man, it just gets hard sometimes. It just does. You're going through there and that the team's not playing well, and all of a sudden you lose a 1-goal game, a 2-goal game against teams maybe you thought you should have beaten, and you're trying to ramp it up, but you've done the work throughout the course of the year. And what this Panther team did is when the regular season, they rode the highs good. When they were rolling, when they were rolling, it was good. And when they kind of had those little lumps and downtimes, they were able to mitigate those lows and keep them rather short. Uh, Towards the end of the year, it got a little bit bumpy, but there's not a lot of concern in that dressing room. And you got players like you're making sure Ekblad's going to be ready for the playoffs. You're going to rest him. Verhaeghe, the same type of deal. The luxury. We were scraping to get in last year, right down to game 81, game 82, using everyone 22 minutes a night. This year, okay, Verhaeghe, not sure what it was, but you got a hangnail. You're going to miss the last 5 games.
Yeah.
Ekblad, you got a little tweak. So with this Panther team last year, they put everything on the line, and then they go that 7-game series against Boston. And they were so beat up by the time they got to the Stanley Cup final that they were put together with duct tape against Las Vegas.
Yeah.
This year, you made sure everyone was healthy. It's going to be a grind, but when you start the playoffs 100% healthy and in a good shape, and I can tell you from personal experience, from once you get into the regular season, into the postseason, your whole mindset change. You don't even know you played those 82 games.
Right.
It just goes out the window. It just becomes looking straight across at an opponent for 7 games. And it's time that we're going to go do battle against each other. And you get so much more juice and energy just flowing. It's hard to describe, but as an athlete, it's the best feeling in the world. All of a sudden, this is what I live for. Yeah. This is my chance to chase the dream. And that's why you saw this Panther team being able to, okay, it's crank it up time. And you've only seen 2 or 3 occasions. You saw game number 5 against Boston, against Boston. No legs, no jump here at home. That was one game that was flat.
Yeah.
They came out game number 1 that they lost to Boston. A lot of turnovers, mistakes. There was a long layoff, and there was that one game against. Other than that, the rest of these games they've been humming, and going. Just as hard as you can play for 60 minutes, hitting everything. So far, you've out of a possible 14 games in the first 2 series, you played 11. It seems like pretty much everyone's still intact, and that's what it's about this time of year. These guys are playing their ass off. There's just no way around it. And Paul Maurice has been able to coach this team up and get them into a right position.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said, especially that's how I kind of would describe it in those, in the down times when I would doing the recap. I would say the guys kind of look like they're out there saying, man, we got to play again. You could just tell, you're going to get tired from all those games.
It gets a drag, believe me.
Yeah. I know. So I want to ask you a couple of questions. You touched on it a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about your opinion on the job that Bill Zito has done. And it dovetails into my question about who you think for this series would be the right 4th line guys to go with. Because like last year, when we had guys out, you're talking about Zach Delpe and Denisenko being the replacements. Now you got Okposo and Lorentz, and you don't even really know, should we put those 2 guys out there? Should it be Lomberg and Cousins? What's your opinion about that specifically? And then just talk a little bit about the job that Zito has done.
Zito's job's off the charts. You go look back and to get the defenseman at the start of this year, the players that he's picked up off waivers, Gustav Forsling comes to mind. The trade with Tkachuk it's a home run. If you evaluate and you go back through his body of work, what he's put together in a couple of years, 2-3 years here, has really set this team up for long-term success. And they've got this depth. You go out at the deadline, you get Tarasenko. He's able to fit into a top 9 role, help your power play. The second power play unit has actually been pretty good at times. Gustav Forsling, there's no other words to put it. You watch him play defense. He got the game-winning goal, and he got the spotlight, which was nice in that last game against Boston. But he does pretty much everything right, and that goes back to Zito just adding the wealth to depth. And to the second question about the 4th line, Paul Maurice has a luxury of options to go to. And if the series gets long, Okposo was part of it. And they were going well because he's a big body. Boston's a big, heavy team.
Right.
Is Rempe going to be in the lineup? How much would he play effective? The 4th line for Boston. Heedle's back into the conversation. They're even talking about Blake Wheeler. coming back. So we'll have to see what goes on with the New York Rangers. But what happens? Why you saw that change in game number 6, in my personal opinion, from Paul Maurice when you went away from Opozo and Lawrence, they've been playing really well. But if you go into a game and you're wondering, I need all the jump and juice and I can get, I throw in 2 guys that are just hungry to go. Just let them get after it and go. I would expect you might see the same sort of combination that you see some of the guys play. You might see the tweaking of all kinds of different fourth lines, but to keep that energy up, to get those guys, because you have to have a fourth line that gives you 8, 9 quality minutes at even strength and is be able to tilt the ice in your favor. And the fresher they are, the more ability that they have to do that. And if you're able to interchange this lineup and they know that they have chemistry together, well, rock and roll with it. Keep these guys fresh in and out. So I would, and Paul Maurice has said it's nothing to do with the way that Lawrence or Opozo plays or Cousin or Lomberg. They played well every time that they've been in there. They've been able to do their jobs. It's just the wealth of depth gives you that advantage to get some fresher legs in what is really a battle of attrition in the playoffs. So when you can throw in some fresh, healthy bodies to give you a spark down on that fourth line and give you 8, 9 quality minutes, it's something that a coach is always looking for.
Yeah, I mean the not just the depth, but the quality of depth. I mean the fact that we've got a guy that we don't know in Cousins. You don't know if he's going to be on the fourth line or not. But if somebody gets dinged in the top 9, you put Cousins up on the second line with Bennett and Kachuk, and it works.
Yeah, he's comfortable in the top 9 role.
Yeah,
and you even if it got really down to slim pickings, Opozo's a guy that's been over 1,000 games. He knows how to play with everyone too. So if you did get really banged up in your top 9, there are a couple options that you could throw up there, and that they probably would look pretty good. Yeah. And Paul Maurice has flexibility in that top 9. It's good. It's been nice to see the Panthers though been able to settle on some line combinations. Started different at the start of that Boston series. All of a sudden, Reinhart, Tarasenko go back together, and with Barkov, and that was dominant. That series by Barkov was clinical. It's one of the greatest 6-game stretch I've ever seen from a player. He throttled Boston and the captaincy, and you're starting to see more enthusiasm from Barkov in the goal celebrations. All this stuff is rubbing off on Barkov, and it's taken him from one of the best players in the world into this superstar category. So you get the celebrations, you're starting to get the hits, you're winning the faceoffs. It's a more engaging Barkov. The block shot that we saw at the end of game number 6. Barkov's always been a warrior and a battler. But with some of the stuff that he's done in these playoffs, I just shake my head and said, "This is unbelievable. How does he continue to play at this level?"
Yeah, you can tell he wants it, and Lundell has been lifting his play as well, right behind him.
Yeah, I see quickly at that point. I see comments online like Lundell should be in this. This guy's. I didn't find that I belonged in the NHL until I was 25. This guy's 22. He's got over 40 plus playoff games. Yep. And he's starting to produce at an extremely high level. You know how good this guy's going to be, 23, 24, 25 with all this playoff experience? And what he's adding this year. Anyone who doesn't like Anton Lundell and appreciate his game, we're not here talking about what we're doing in the playoffs without what Anton and Lundell has been able to do.
Yeah, we agree. I have multiple videos on this channel where the title is basically "Stop Trying to Trade Anton Lundell," because I see him talking about it on Twitter, and I just have to yell at the camera because I got to yell at something.
Yeah.
Right? So I want to switch topics to Bob versus Igor. Now, I did a video a couple days ago. I looked at a lot of the numbers and everything like that, and in most areas, these two guys are about as even as you can get. And of course, you're looking at numbers against other teams, right? So my question for you is, both ways, what will the Rangers need to do to beat Bob, and what do the Panthers need to do to beat Igor?
Well, if you watch the Rangers play, They're the best east as far as going attacking, crossing seams, east, west, north, south is straight lines.
Right.
The Rangers have a really innate ability, especially on the power play, to attack seams, go east, west, 3-on-2s. That's going to be the challenge for Bobrovsky. Boston's straightforward. It's north. He knows where the shots are coming from. So this Panther team is going to have a sense of get a sense of predictability and try and prevent 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s, crossing passes, stay out of the penalty box. If they start to do that, Bob's going to be sliding around in that net, having to make some outrageous saves. So if the Rangers are able to execute like that, they'll have a chance to score some goals on Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky has gone under the radar of these players because of the shot suppression the Panthers have had.
Mm-hmm.
But when they've needed him the most to shut the door at certain times, he's done it. And it's just about winning the game. And he's made it real important and done it really well. Allowed the Panthers to win the game. On the other side of it, when I watch Igor Shesterkin play, there's not a lot of holes to his game. The Panthers are simple. We're a lot like Carolina, but we got a lot more physicality than Carolina had. So what they saw against Carolina, they're going to see a lot against us, just with a little extra rub and meanness that Carolina maybe didn't have. So that Panthers are the best screen team in the NHL regular season, getting bodies in front, rebounds, gathering rebounds, scoring on second chances. That's how Forsling scored that goal. It's just going to come down to basic against Igor Shesterkin, just like Swayman. It's multiple shots, get to rebounds, bodies, traffic, and when you get scoring chances, try to beat them. But these are two just elite goaltenders going head to head, and they're going to have to, it's going to come back to the goaltenders being strong. And if you look at the series, both Bobrovsky and Shesterkin let up some goals at times, but when they had to shut the door, they slammed it closed and no one was getting in. So it comes down to, can you get the pressure when you need that goal the most? Who's going to be the goaltender that bends or breaks in this series? Probably going to end up deciding some games.
Yep. That's a good point. A couple more things. Like this one's a little bit of a specific example, but I'm curious to get your opinion because again, the fans, we kind of go back and forth, but we didn't play. So after Boston stopped deciding, after they played the 2 games where all they were interested in doing was hitting, and they actually started forechecking, many of us were noticing, especially Ekblad, was having trouble with the puck. When he would get it behind our own net, instead of really trying to move it quick, it seemed like it could look like he was having trouble, or was he just purposefully attempting to pin the puck up against the boards, waiting for support to come? Can you explain a little bit from the player's perspective what's going on when the other team is really forechecking you and you're kind of stuck behind the net defensively? Because that's like a lot of the agenda that goes on between fans is us arguing about what the defensive players should have done in that position.
Well, go back to game 1 in the Boston series. Ekblad was not good by all accounts across the board. One of the worst games he's ever played. Had to heart with Paul Maurice after that game.
Oh, wow.
There was some conversation. He came out in game number 2, played a lot better, worked on it. But the giveaways that he had in game number 1, so part of that, what you're starting to see is instead of just throwing it up the middle, if I don't have a play quickly, yes, eat it. If I got Barkov coming in to help me out down low, wait. Get off the glass. The boards are safe. If that puck starts to squirt into the middle of the ice or I try and make an extra play, there's trouble here. Ekblad's turned into actually a really... He's playing against the teams that him and Forsling are going against the Pasternaks, the Kucherovs. They're going against the best of the best. So they're trying to limit those mistakes and help out when they can. So Ekblad, I give him full credit because he's changed his game to where he was a 10 or 15 goal guy or a 45-point guy into a guy that can be a shutdown defenseman and make the smart plays, use his body, use his size down low, cut down the time and space. It's changed. It's developed. It's not the same comparison, but a player like Jay Bouwmeester, when he came into the league, who was a great skater, was kind of thought of as an offensive guy. all of a sudden, when he went to St. Louis and beyond here, he just became a defensive shutdown guy that got a couple of goals a year, maybe 15, 20 points. He became one of the best shutdown defensemen in the NHL. Ekblad has really learned to play hard against guys. The gap control, use that to his focus. So if the play's not there for Ekblad, he's going to eat it. He'll eat it down deep in the corners and just not make the play. But if he has time to make the play, it's going to be the right play. And I firmly believe that it goes back into that game one. Just with the turnovers, and they were like, okay, this can't happen again. You're out there against the best of the best. Whatever it is, it's going to be safe. You got this. You got other people that are going to come down and help you. Down Forsling's going to help you down low. Barkov's going to help you down low. Bennett, whoever's playing down low with you, and you are going to just win those 50-50 board battles and then get it out from there.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that answer because that's kind of what I thought I saw. I was like, it looked like it had to be. He was so uncomfortable doing it. It looked like he was having to force it. You know what I mean? Like, dang it, I want to move this puck, but I know I shouldn't, so I'm just going to stay here against the boards.
Yeah, it's interesting. He's had to change and adapt his game. It's going out there against the best of the player these playoffs, but he's been able to adapt and change.
Well, he sold the boat. Now he's got his pilot license, so he's
an inch. I'm all for that. Interesting. If you got the hobbies, whatever it is, that's I like when players have personalities.
Yep. So I got one last thing for you here before I let you go. This is a bit of a tough question, but we talk about we know all the puck luck. We know we got to have all the puck luck and all of the things, stay out of the box. But just give me your opinion. Each team, Florida, New York, not goaltending, but any of the matchups or one specific player on each team that you think could be a bit of an advantage against the other team.
The one player that I'm kind of concerned about that's playing hockey that's off the charts is Lafreniere. On that second line or first line, whoever it is, he plays with Panarin and Trocheck and Lafreniere. That's a line that's been able to really good. Lafreniere, when you watch him play, has gone to another level in these playoffs. So that kind of scares me. And Trocheck coming back against us, there's going to be motivation. It should be fun. He's already been chirping a lot in these playoff series. So imagine how much chirping's going to go on between Trocheck and the boys on the ice. That's gonna be a fun exchange. So there's a little pause of concern. The depth guys, how do they play out? Roslovic, Wenberg, a couple of guys added at the trade deadline. Roslovic skates really well. That's another important piece. The star players, Panarin, Zibanejad, those type of Kreider, those guys are going to be effective. They all will. It comes down into the matchup again. Barkov's going to be hugely important. Kachuk in this series. Can Lundell keep going at the pace that he's going? Lundell's going to be a key factor and a key driver for me. And Tarasenko was last year with the Rangers. So you flip into those storylines like Trocheck going back against the Panthers. Tarasenko was with the Rangers last year. There's going to be a little revenge factor. 5-on-5, the Panthers win the series.
Right.
Firmly believe that. They're going to come out on the right side of the scoreboard. Rangers have 4 or 5 shorthanded goals already in the playoffs to go along with one of the best power plays in the NHL. The Panthers' power play has been up and down. Their penalty killing's been solid. 5-on-5 wins this series on the Panthers side. If you keep it even or close at special teams, the Panthers are going to win this series. If somehow there's an explosion the other way on the special teams from the New York Rangers, then it gets a little dicey. It's set up to be, the eyeballs and everything that goes into this series going against the New York Rangers, this is phenomenal. It's Madison Square Garden all the way down here. You get original 6 in Boston, you get an original 6 with the New York Rangers. This is going to be one of the best Panther playoff series in the history that we've ever had. I believe it.
Yep, I agree, and I hope we end up correct. I just want a nice, clean. I don't want any controversy the way we had with the refs and and punches and all of that. I want, and I know this is a lot to ask, but I want 7 clean games where at the end, everybody's just like, well, best team won. And hopefully that's the Panthers.
Yeah, that'll be good. The rest of the controversy, there's always that, but
yeah,
hey, it happens. Whatever happens with the rest, and I've talked about this, it happened. You can't change it. What are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? And there was the goaltender interference, the Sam Bennett play where he pushed Coyle into the net. It stands for the Panthers. Then the next night, it looks like they have goaltender interference against us on the McAvoy goal.
Yeah.
And it stands, so it evens out.
I don't know what goaltender interference is anymore. I'm just like,
I
just watch
either,
the games and say, you tell me, is it a goal or not, ref? Yes or no?
But the refs are, if they call it, and as we get into these Eastern Conference Finals, hopefully the Stanley Cup, the refs are great at every series regular season. If anyone says that they're out there, that there's any kind of sway to which team they want to win, absolutely not. They're being evaluated on a nightly basis. They are trying to get to the Stanley Cup themselves based on their performance and their ratings in games. How did they ref? So we're getting the best referees here in the Eastern Conference Finals, best on their performance that they've done in the regular season till now. Moving forward, so complain about the refs all you want, but they're out there. It's a hard job, and they're going to do the best they can.
Yep. All right, Billy. I really, like I always say, all 5 really appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us. I know everybody that watches this video is going to be just extremely pleased that we were able to connect. And not to put you on the spot, but hopefully, if possible, if we make it to the finals, we can see you again before that happens. But either way, really genuinely appreciate your time and support, and look forward to talking to you again real soon.
All right. Thank you so much, Eric. I appreciate it.